All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making a plays. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, welcome everybody. Monday night, another episode of Bring It here on the All Sports All Plays Network. I am your host, the Big Dog. Man, we got a big show tonight. Got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's do the introductions to get through it. My man Ray in the house. Ray, a little excited. His Atlanta Braves are going to the World Series. Where's that hat, Ray? Where's that hat? Show us that hat.
I was gonna bring it up when we got to him, but
show it now, man. Rep it the whole hour. Rep it the whole hour. There you go. Ray repping the Atlanta Braves, and of course we got the coach in the house. What's up, Coach?
What up?
Did your team have a game this week?
Of course.
How'd you? No, I don't mean your NFL team. The team that you coach. Did your boys have a game?
Last Thursday we lost.
Cool. How'd that go?
We lost. We played the number 2 team in the state.
Oh, okay.
So they gave it to us.
Yeah, and we know that football is king in Texas. So as we know.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, and Brian Rodriguez.
That's the Astros.
Is that your boy, Brian? All right, cool. Well, before we're going to get to baseball in a little bit, but right now, as we always start our Monday night show, we do a Monday night preview. We got Seattle and New Orleans tonight. The game is in Seattle. Game starts in about 15 minutes. I think the line with Seattle was favored by 4, which kind of don't understand because, with Geno Smith as their quarterback rather than Russell Wilson, who's still hurt, I kind of can see New Orleans kind of walking all over them tonight. So, Ray, give me a quick breakdown of tonight's game.
Well, if you look, you got to be in Seattle. You're in front of the Seattle's crowd, the 12th man they call them there. The weather's not going to be, good for any team. It's going to be raining. It's supposed to be pour down rain. It's supposed to be it could be foggy. You might not be able to look at the game. It could be that same type of game in Chicago when it was all a foggy game when the Bears and the Eagles played. And Walter Payton ran game. It could be one of those type of games because the cold air and the humidity. But if you look at this thing, I think it's gonna be a cakewalk for New Orleans and the Saints because you got Alvin Kamara. The defense got to stop him. The 30th ranked defense in the NFL right now. If I was the Saints, I'd be heavy dosing him with the run and the pass. See if they can put him in space and operate that. He's just gonna have a big game. I think. They don't have no answers for that. Geno Smith is Geno Smith, and he's no Russell Wilson. He's played okay, but he does turn the ball over some. He's not that capable quarterback. The offense is not really built around him because it's always built around Russell Wilson. So he's not the same type of player as Russell Wilson. He cannot break it down when he gets in the sack and stuff like that. So you got to look at that. You got to look at a couple of things too that there. Seattle's still without Chris Carson with the neck injury. They do get back Rashid Penny and Alex Collins back. That might help a little bit, but still, you're talking about that 30th ranked defense in Seattle, man. I think Pete Carroll's on the hot seat. He might be on his way out.
Interesting. Well, I was completely wrong. New Orleans is favored by 5. The line opened the other way, and I thought all the money is completely switched the side of the line between the injury as well. So, Coach, this is an interesting game in my opinion, and I think it's a lot. It's bigger for both teams because New Orleans, if they win, they can go to 500, and kind of be battling for that wild card spot in the NFC South. Because you all know your boys Tampa are going to win that division without a doubt. There's really, and we'll talk about that in a little bit for sure. But Jameis Winston has been so hot and cold. Monday night, the spotlight in Seattle, even though that defense is weak, that 12th man will still be loud. Those guys are going to show up. So, if you're Jameis, do you go for it or do you just check down the Camaro a lot? If you're putting a game plan together.
If he's keep doing what he's been doing, hey, take what they give you. So, you look at his stats, he got 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That's very good from the last time he played quarterback.
Yes.
So I think Sean Payton is teaching them how to play the position, and it's not always just throw it up. So I think he's gonna keep that same formula. Hey, let's play defense. Check down if it ain't there. Let's live to fight another day.
No, definitely. I could definitely see that. Now, I don't know if any of you guys saw the game last night. That weather in San Francisco. I don't know if that's affecting the weather up in Seattle, but weather could be a factor. And even though Indianapolis, an indoor team, went to Frisco and won in the monsoon, can a New Orleans team win in that Seattle weather, even if it's just a little bit off? So let's get some final predictions. So Ray, give us just a prediction tonight, a little score. Is New Orleans going to cover the spread, or is it going to be a closer game? What do you think? You're muted.
I think New Orleans will cover the spread. I think it's going to be a good. I think it's going to be 27-17. It's going to be the score.
27-17. All right, Coach, what do you got for tonight?
I'm close to him. I'm gonna say 24-14.
All right. Well, so far I am 1-1 on my Bring It predictions. Last week I did have Tennessee plus the points, and they actually won outright. And it was an interesting play call, but that was last week, and we'll move on from that. Something tells me this is going to be a lot closer than 5. Something tells me the Seattle being home Monday night, even though it's Geno Smith, I just have a feeling New Orleans will win, but I don't think they'll cover the 5. So I got New Orleans winning by 3. So I got Seattle plus the 5 tonight, but New Orleans will win, in my opinion. All right, cool. So let's move on to week 7. Some good games, not great games, a lot of blowouts. There are 2 places we could start. I want to start with Tennessee and Kansas City. Basically, sometimes you hear radio hosts go Football Monday, the good, the bad, and then they say the ugly. Well, the ugly this week was the Kansas City Chiefs. Those guys did not look completely like themselves at all. Mahomes looks human. He actually looks, just like uncomfortable in the pocket. And then he had that gruesome hit at the end of the game. Let's hope he's okay. Let's hope he can play next week. So, Coach, I mean, what's wrong with Kansas City? We'll talk about Tennessee in a minute, but what's wrong with Kansas City?
Everything. Everything. Sitting here thinking about it. I had a conversation with my dad and everybody else. First off, I'm gonna say the defense. They can't stop anybody. You think Henry's gonna run for a record-breaking 400 yards this game? He didn't run for I think over 100. He was under 100. But what's his name looked like he was Tom Brady out there throwing the ball. They had like 3 drives inside the 20. They drove 80 yards. They couldn't get a stop. Kansas City does not have a running game. I don't understand why they don't have a running game. Because they, like I said from the beginning, everybody that plays Kansas City, they're gonna keep 2 safeties over the top, just so you can't beat them deep. Because they got fast guys.
Right.
Telling you to run the ball, but they still refuse to run the ball. I think they average probably 17 carries a game, and like 8 or 9 of them is the quarterback. So I think they can change. They can turn around. One, establish a run game, at least keep that defense off the field a little bit longer, and just hope and pray for the secondary. The hope, not just secondary, everybody on the defense.
Right. Well, they play the Giants next Monday night and in Kansas City, and I don't know if that could be a good game for Kansas City to kind of regroup their confidence, because even though the Giants won this week, we beat Carolina without McCaffrey, without J.C. Horn, with a Sam Darnold who was kind of like frazzled and probably seeing ghosts again. So that could be a good recovery game. How does Andy Reid, turn his team around? I mean, they've got injuries, Ray. They've got, they don't seem to be in the right headspace. And Andy Reid has always been a coach who's been able to bring his team up. So, like, how do you get these guys to come off? They're 2-4. The only games that they've won have been against sub-500 teams. The games that they've lost have all been teams that are in first place or second place in their divisions. Even Cleveland, who's 4-3. How do you motivate these guys at this point and not lose them only 7 games into the season?
Well, if you look at it this way too, and agreeing with Coach here, it starts up with their defense and stuff, and the other team defense has figured out to throw them 2 safeties deep and throw the 2 cover safeties on them, and then take away and make them run the ball, make Mahomes be in the pocket. You can't win the game with your quarterback as a leading rusher. I'm sorry,
right?
Your quarterback is your leading rusher right now. And he had in the last 2 games he had over 60 yards and 50 yards in this game. And he led the whole team. You got to have a running back that's able. I know. They're starting tailback is injured. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Williams hasn't stepped in and picked up any of his slack. And, I think, Mahomes, if you look at Mahomes, his quarterback rating in this ballgame was 6.0.
Yeah.
A Mahomes quarterback rating is 6.0. I think this is his lowest rating since he has come into the NFL.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And teams are figuring him out. It's better to keep him in the pocket, not him moving around.
Mm-hmm.
But his offensive line, too, they haven't addressed that issue. They haven't addressed the issue of the offensive line to protect him. Sometimes he gets gunshot back there because he don't know if he's going to have that protection.
Right.
And if you ain't confident with your offensive line, then you're 9 times out of 10, you're lost.
Right.
You're lost out there as a quarterback because you don't have confidence that you can stay back there and have your wide receivers come up. And look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, he only had, let me see if I can find this. I got his stats somewhere around here. If you look at Tyreek Hill and his stats, I mean, he's not the leading wide receiver. Brian Pringle was the leading wide receiver in this ball game. That's unstoppable. I mean, teams are rolling to Tyreek Hill, leaving other teams open. And, what is Andy Reid doing? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's in his right mind either, if he's calling the plays good. He's not a coach that will chip any defensive end and, to help their offensive tackles to get that pressure off of them or have a tight end stay in there. Both of their tight ends just go out and run pass patterns. I mean, you got to have somebody to chip, and I understand that Kelsey's a good tight end, but he's going to have to learn how to chip before he goes out and gets to receiving, and they got to start doing that.
Exactly. No, they just got to give Mahomes protection. I mean, he's not getting the time. He's not having. I mean, he's been so comfortable in the pocket, and he's been trying to make dazzling plays. And it might be also that there's now a lot of tape on him, and the defenses can finally scheme for him and figure out exactly what he's doing. Let's move to the other side of the field in Tennessee. Tennessee is, not surprising everybody, playing an interesting and old school brand of football with a new school brand of football. Derrick Henry is just a monster back there. He's a man among boys, and those are some big boys on that field, but he's just dragging guys across the field. I mean, we talked about this last week. Let's talk about it again, Coach. I mean, you can only you can't stop him. You can only contain a Derrick Henry, right, Coach?
Yes. I mean, you have to. And if you look at these past 2 weeks, you had to make a decision. It's either Henry's going to beat you or Tannehill. Right. You look at the Bills; they said we're going to let Henry beat us. Then you look at Kansas City Chiefs; they were like, "Hey, we're going to stop Derrick Henry. We're going to let Tannehill." And Tannehill just threw it all across the field. Right. I mean, you got to pick your poison. One thing about Derrick Henry, you have to get him before he gets started.
Right.
If you get him before he gets started, you're good. If he gets rolling, that weight gets to going downhill, then you're in trouble. I mean, it's just proven it's an old school method. Now the question is, how long can they sustain that type of game with just one back?
How long can he physically take it? I mean, he's getting 25, 30 touches a game, right?
Well, they talked about it. He rehabs like crazy. So they said the minute after the game, he do his cryo, he do everything that's known to man. So he rehabs to get his body, take care of his body. But it's one of those things which they kind of put themselves in the hole at the beginning of the season because they were losing. Now they got some momentum going. Hopefully, you get Julio Jones and them rolling, and that you can kind of you can shorten the snaps a little bit and get you a lead. So it just all depends. My biggest thing, it's still early. I hate when I say that. It's 8. You're talking about 7, 8 weeks in, 6 to 7 games in. So there's still time in it. So you still got 2 more games. We got 2 more games. Like everybody's saying, even Kansas City, they get the Giants this week. They can figure it out. Once they figure it out, I mean, now win after win after win. So it's still early, man.
No, and they've got Tennessee's got 2 tough games coming up on the road. They're at Indianapolis this coming Sunday, and then the next week they're in Los Angeles at the Rams. So, and we all know how good the Rams have looked, and the Rams are definitely getting better. And they don't seem to have a bye week. Yeah, they don't have a bye week until December 5th. So yeah, as you said, physically, Derrick Henry's definitely got to do his cryo, do his rehab, and all that, and all that. All right, let's move on to the next game I want to talk about, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Now, last week we had our friend Jai Shields, a Cincinnati Bengal fan. Maybe the Bring It Karma helped his boys win. He was actually at the game. I saw on his Instagram. He was at the game sitting upstairs. He had great pictures. So the young buck brought the Bring It Karma to the game, and they won. So good for Cincinnati. Ray, after yesterday, is Cincinnati for real? I mean, are they? They're not. I don't think they're a paper tiger anymore. Are they for real?
Well, if you look at Cincinnati, and then one thing you got to tip your hat off to the GM. They went out and got Jamar Chase. That's the first thing, because they brought a wide receiver that Joe Burrow is really comfortable with from college, and they're continuing what they did at LSU right on this football field, right in front of everybody's eyes. I mean, you can't understand Lamar Chase. I mean, if you look at the pass over the middle, Chase grabbed, avoided two players diving at his legs. He spun past another defender into the clear. Yeah. I mean, Lamar Chase is that wide receiver. Will he be in the slump? We got the sophomore slump coming next year. But right now, we're talking about his impressive debut. He is doing this job. He's doing it good. I mean, if you look at Joe Burrow, who threw for a career high 416 yards and 3 touchdowns in this ballgame, he was a pivotal 82-yarder to Chase in the third quarter. I mean, if you look at Jamar Chase, man, he's just been unbelievable. I mean, it was a big win over the AFC North counterpart, especially Lamar Jackson. Way Baltimore's been playing with him. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cincinnati's defense did a pretty good job on it. If you look at Chase, finished with 8 catches. He only had 8 catches, but 201 yards.
Right. On
8 catches. I mean, he just broke Speedy Thompson's franchise rookie record of 177 yards, which was back in 1969 game at Denver. So he broke that long streak right there. He's just resetting the record books right now. Going to be resetting the record books for Cincinnati. Yeah. And if you can't find a way to stop Lamar Chase, and if you try to double team him, then they're gonna you got to start double teaming. Point blank. You have to start double teaming, make the other wide receivers be effective in the passing game. Make Burrows be uncomfortable. Burrows is uncomfortable when he has to go to other players than Lamar Chase. Lamar Chase is like his safety valve.
No, definitely. And it's interesting how, that the running game has really exploded for Cincinnati. Dixon had a great game yesterday. Their tight end, CJ Azauer, I can never pronounce his last name. He had a great game. I mean, they picked apart that Baltimore defense. That Baltimore defense has been good, and then they were able to stop, Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. So, Coach, I mean, obviously the next game they play is going to be in Cincy in a couple weeks. Cincinnati's already got at least a 1-game advantage on Baltimore. I mean, at this point with their schedule, I'd say this is Cincinnati's division to lose at this point. Would you agree?
Yes. They got a gauntlet coming, man. They got a gauntlet. I'm still offensively, I think they're good, but I got to see it consistently over and over time. Like I said, you play Baltimore, but the thing about it is after you play Baltimore, like next week you have the Jets.
Right.
Now you're gonna play the Browns. At least one thing about it, the Browns will be a lot more healthy by the time they play them.
Yes.
Then you play the Raiders. Then you go back and play the Steelers. Then you play the Chargers. 49ers is still competitive no matter what.
Right.
They got a good D-line, good rush. Broncos is suspect a little bit. But then you play the Ravens, then you got the Chiefs. Like, so I have to see over time. I watched them. I watched them when they played Green Bay. It was offensively they were good, but defensively they couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So it's kind of I'm still on the fence with them because I have to see that they're still young. I want to see how they respond with adversity. That's the biggest thing for them because they're gonna have it. You're gonna have a part where it's like nothing's going right. Now, how are you gonna respond?
No, definitely. I mean, their schedule is definitely favorable the next couple of weeks. I mean, the Jets, and then at home, even with Cleveland healthy, at home against Cleveland, that home crowd is going to be so stoked if they come back. If they come home 6-2, that home crowd is going to be insane. And then a week off, then they have to go to Vegas. A week off with a West Coast trip is definitely advantageous, I would say. Then home against Pittsburgh, home against Chargers and the Niners, as you said. All winnable home games with teams coming from the West Coast to the East Coast in December. And we've all seen how cold it can get in December. So especially a team like the Chargers coming into You know, the last big one time they came in there was 1982, and it was like.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, he froze.
He froze. I guess he's telling us about the cold up in Cincinnati and he just froze himself. You know, in Florida. You know, he's gonna have to go outside and get himself defrost first. You know, but you know, we're talking about the Cincinnati team and stuff like that. How good can their defense be consistent? That's going to be the question. What do you think about their defense?
That's the thing. Because you're playing Lamar. One thing about Lamar, and let's just be honest, man. If you stop the run and you get him off his first read, and he has to go to his second or third read, I think that's where he'll have his troubles and he'll have his issues. So playing like the Raiders, who can throw the ball, has a good tight end. That, you know, I think their struggle, because if you've seen it when they played the Packers, you had an all-pro receiver, you have a decent tight end, good running game, and with Aaron Rodgers, that gave him some trouble. So I think that's the most important thing, because like I said, don't get me wrong, Lamar Jackson is great. He's a great runner. He can throw a little bit, but his guys can't beat the one-on-one. They're just vertical guys.
Right. And are you concerned with Cincinnati's defense, the way they played the Jaguars, that close of a game up in Cincinnati?
Yes and no. Not really, because it's one of those games. No, I mean, I know you're a Jaguars fan. It's one of those things.
I understand, but I mean, their defense is not that good.
No, I'm 100%. I don't think the Bengals defense. That's the one thing, and I think that's why the whole knock of getting Jamar Chase, because they say, hey, get the lineman to protect him. Man, if you got guys that can run routes, it ain't an issue. You want to blitz him, fine, because you got somebody like Jamar. You blitz him, you miss, he make two people miss, he's gone. You're not gonna catch him.
Right.
So I think they're gonna be so offensive heavy to where we got to throw the ball. And then every once in a while we try to hit it with a run, just because of their defense, because they got to score. You got to put points up, because at any moment that defense is gonna give up touchdown. I don't think it's a top 10 defense, and you need a top 10 defense, especially with the offense that they have, of how they're kind of pass happy.
Yeah. I don't understand. Two things I really don't know. Joe Burrow, you know, last year he got hurt and stuff, so Cincinnati kind of tanked a little bit in there, and they picked up Jamar Chase. You think it just him and Chase familiarity with LSU got them where they are at this point right now? Yes,
but I also think, honestly, truthfully, if Jamar Chase would have came out last year with Jefferson, I think he was the best receiver at LSU, my opinion. And I think that you're talking about 2 years being with each other, hanging out with each other. Like, it's a difference in the league compared to when you're in college, because they spent a lot of hours together. So you kind of understand, you're kind of on the same page with this guy. So, which I understand, you give him one of his favorite friends as one of his homeboys.
Yeah.
So like with him, Barrow and Chase, they go home and they can go kick it with each other. They can go and hang out with each other because they've been doing it for so long. So I think they have a great connection with each other. But also, like I said, you don't have to. He's a route runner. And one thing about him, when you have route runners, they are hard to stop, because you can put them in the outside, you can put them in the slot. So you have to pick your poison. If I'm gonna run man and he goes to the slot, can he chase him across the field? Yeah. But if you run zone, now I can sit in his zone. And then if you run man, I put him in the slot, I just run him across the field. Guess who's open? You see the tight end running wide open.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing about their offense. You got to really truly pick your poison of who you're gonna take out. But then you got to make sure you got guys that can control the tight end. You got to make sure you can get the receivers.
And I got one more question too before we get going here. Jamar Chase sat out his senior year. He sat out his last year at LSU. He didn't play last year during the pandemic. He took that pandemic clause and just left. Do you think that really hurt him in the draft going up higher?
Oh no!
And now,
no, it isn't.
And now he's so effective right now that it just helped him a little bit.
I think, if anything, honest truth, I think it helped him, because then now you're talking about you spent 365 days eating, lifting, running, jumping, understanding the game of football.
Yeah.
So now you don't have to go to class. He didn't go to school. I guarantee he was not in the class. He was learning how to play the game of football. So you give someone a year, you can look at all your weaknesses. Wherever he was weak at, now you're saying, hey, we're going to work on this. Hey, we're going to work on your flexibility. We're going to work on your durability. We're going to work on your sticking your routes. Hey, you're going to catch 1,000 balls a day. Hey, you're going to eat this, because he probably had an agent. And so the agent probably made sure he had the right nutrition. And he was probably doing 8 hours a day, working out, training. Where it probably would know a lot of NFL players that was out of Arizona or Florida. So it's one of the two places. And I think that's what he did, which, I mean, it improved his game so much.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry about that, guys. So I had a little computer problem here, but thanks for holding it down for me. All right, let's move on to one more game. Let's talk about coaches Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Chicago. Tom Brady threw his 600th touchdown pass yesterday. What's his name? Threw the ball into the stands, and Brady wanted it back. And then I think he gave the guy something else. And then Brady, there was a kid that had a sign that said, Tom Brady helped me get through cancer. And he gave the kid a hat. So a real big day for Tom Brady and the boys. I mean, Tampa just looks so good. And so I mean, they're definitely, to me, the best team not the best team, the second best team in the NFC. I got to give props to Arizona. Arizona's playing. They're playing who they got to play, and they're winning their games. So you got to give them props. But Brady, 44 years old. I mean, man, I think I need to start eating some of that avocado ice cream, man. He's looking good, Coach. So talk a little bit about Tampa.
Come on, baby. Hey, age ain't nothing but a number. Nah, man. One thing about Tom Brady, and I think the most important thing is his legacy that drives him. Mm-hmm. Like when everybody, it's really his legacy. He doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about the regular season win, which of course he wants to win every game. But for him, it's the playoffs, because he's really known as how many Super Bowls can he win. Right. And now that he left him and Bills away, that's his motivation. Because you go to a team, because let's really be honest, Tampa Bay wasn't his first pick.
Right.
Team, like he wouldn't say where he wanted to go. I mean, there's speculations. He wanted to go to San Francisco because it's close to where he's from. Right. But he picked them, and now it's like, all right, you guys didn't make the playoffs, so let me mold y'all. Let me teach you guys how to be winners. I'm gonna show you how I did it, how I learned, and I think, and he's having fun, because now you're seeing a total different personality about Tom Brady. Right. And you see him, and he's enjoying it. Like I say, going to the stands and giving out hats and getting the ball, 600 touchdowns, celebrating, laughing, and joking. You didn't see that when he was up there with the Patriots. So I think he's the biggest key. Plus, when you got Bruce Arians, who lets his players play, right. Like he really wants to be the show. He's honest with them. If it was ugly, he's gonna say, "Hey, that was ugly." But if they do a great job, he's gonna say, "Hey, they did a great job." So, like right now, their biggest issue is injuries. Mm-hmm. Secondary is getting somewhat healthier. The receivers and the tight ends they're getting healthy. Gronk will be back probably, if not this week, next week. So I think that's the biggest thing for them is, again, it's early, man. It's right. It's what they're 5-1, 6-1. So they got the bye is late. I think it's week 10 to 12. I think can't remember exactly off the top of my head. So it's still early for them. I think Brady knows that. So let's enjoy the moments. Let's just get better every game.
Exactly. And it's interesting what you said there about Brady, that, he's no longer following the Patriot way. So he seems to be really having fun playing the game again. He's out there. He does a weekly talk show on Mondays. I mean, he's just saying crazy stuff, just being himself, really letting loose, and that's definitely motivating him on a lot of different levels. I think seeing, Belichick and the Patriots not doing as well, even though they beat the Jets. Well, hey, anybody can beat the Jets, it seems like, definitely is motivating him. Ray, let's go to the other side. Justin Fields, highly touted rookie, definitely having trouble adjusting to the NFL. I don't think it's a skill set. I think it's the scheme and the coaching. Matt Nagy's been on the hot seat for a while. People have been blaming Matt Nagy. I was being like, you know what, give him a chance, but now I'm on that bandwagon. I think it's Nagy and the system, and it's not. I think Fields has got the skills. I think it's Nagy and the system. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's Coach Nagy and the system. I think Chicago needs to follow the Jacksonville Jaguars stuff when Gus Bradley was here to leave tell them to get off the game, fire them, and tell them don't get on the plane going back to Chicago. Yeah, I mean, that's what he did to Gus Bradley when he left Seattle. Told him, hey, you need to stay here. Bye, goodbye,
Right.
and left him. And then he can come back with the team on the team plane. So I think it's just a system where Nagy runs the system. I think Justin Fields is okay, but it's also he's got adjusted to the speed of the NFL game too.
Right.
So I mean if you look at it, Justin Fields he went 22 for 32, 184 yards, 3 interceptions. He was sacked. He's leading in sacks with 22 times being sacked. Chicago is good enough as league leading. 22 times he's been sacked.
Wow.
And he didn't start the game, the season off either.
But I would say this though about Justin Fields, and I told Mike, who's the biggest Justin Fields loving Chicago Bear, he holds the ball. Even if you saw him at Ohio State, he holds
the ball. Yeah,
he looks for wide open, and there's not always in the NFL. We all know it's not going to be wide open,
right.
and I think that's one of his biggest issues. Like he can't read the defense fast enough to rate. Okay, I need to throw it here and throw it there. But let me ask you this, Ray. If they fire him, who are they going to hire?
Right now, I don't know. I mean, right now, you don't have anybody you can really go out and hire.
That's what I'm saying. Because like we say that like, hey, they need to fire him, but it's like, who are we going to hire? Are you going to be like the Giants and get a special teams coach / receivers coach?
How about Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach? He's out. Doug Peterson is out there. Him and ownership in Philadelphia didn't get along, but Doug Peterson's out there and proves he can win with a system.
Yeah, but what Chicago go out and pay him with the money he wants? That's going to be your question too, because Nagy's at a cheaper price.
Oh yeah,
but your offense but your scheme ain't running good, but he's at a cheaper price.
Right. Yeah. Well,
does Doug Peterson want to come to Chicago?
Right. Yeah. I'm just putting a name out there because I know he's one of the few coaches out there with a ring who's available, who's young enough, who could probably still connect with the Justin Fields. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with the press, and the press has been putting a lot of stuff out there, that type of thing. All right, one more game I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Jared Goff returning to L.A. Detroit almost pulled that thing out yesterday. It was closer than that score was. The game was a lot closer than the score went on to be. Those guys are hustling for Dan Campbell. They just can't seem to get over the top. And I feel bad because I like Dan Campbell as a player. He's always been a good assistant. He's trying his darndest as a head coach, but Ray, it just seems like that organization they just can't get over the hump. It's crazy.
I looked at the game. I followed the game. I followed the timeline. I went back and looked at ESPN recaps, so you can go back and look at the play-in scores and all that stuff. If you look at it, at the end of the first quarter, Lions were leading 10-3.
Right.
But then you get to halftime, they were leading in the middle of the second quarter, 13-3. Then all of a sudden, the Rams scored twice, and you had your halftime score 16-17 Rams.
Right.
But if you look at it too, if you look at the timelines here, I wrote it down here. The Lions scored a touchdown in the first quarter with DeAndre Swift, a 63-yard pass from Jared Goff. We thought it was going to be kind of good.
That was a great play. Wow.
But look at it. What comes after that? A field goal by Austin Seibert. Rams kick the field goal by Matt Gray. Lions get back into scoring position. A 47-yard field goal by Seibert in the second quarter. Rams scored their first touchdown. Rams scored the second touchdown. Lions kicked another field goal. Lions starts the third kick. End of the quarter, they kicked another field goal. Started the third quarter, they were kicking they kicked the field goal to start the third quarter.
Right.
Then no scoring from the Rams in the third quarter. Then the Rams scored 2 touchdowns, and then Jared Goff threw the crucial interception to Jalen Ramsey to seal the game.
Yeah.
So they have 1 touchdown and rest field goals rest of the week.
Right. And when you go and field goals and touchdowns, you definitely can't win games in this league. It's definitely a slippery slope. And the Rams are looking good. They're 1 game behind Arizona in the West. So, it's going to be an interesting battle the next time they play. We're definitely looking forward to that. The last game I want to talk about a little bit about Indianapolis and San Francisco, and then we'll get on to the NBA. Monsoon going on in Frisco last night. You think an indoor team like Indianapolis would just succumb to the weather, but instead it goes the other way where Jimmy G's making the mistakes. Indianapolis's running game turns it up, makes a couple defensive stops at the end, and ends up winning a crucial game for them on the road. So Carson Wentz in general has been having a good year, Coach. So, I mean, was Carson Wentz, doubted when he got hurt and then kind of written off? And is this kind of his revenge tour? Or do we all know about this about Carson Wentz, but he just has to be healthy in order to play well?
I think the coach figured it out. You know what? Carson Wentz is a good quarterback if he throws the ball maybe 20, 25 times. Mm-hmm. So we got 3 running backs back here. Hey, let's run this thing. And I think that's what makes Carson Wentz who he is, because he does a great job with the play action, and now he can get the vertical threat over the top because he actually have 2 guys that can stretch the field. And then you got the tight end to play with the middle of the field. And then with the running backs, you can throw screens and everything else with them. So you can mix it up. It don't have to be just straight. They can really play games. And I like what Carson Wentz is doing. He's being smart with the ball.
No, he definitely is. Ray, on to San Francisco. So Frisco's 2-4. Jimmy G, big contract, only 1 Super Bowl appearance, lost in the Super Bowl. They draft the quarterback. They're saying, he's the next quarterback. I mean, do you think Jimmy G even makes it to the trade deadline and they just move forward, or they stick with him at least on the roster until the end of the year? Whether he stays healthy is another story. But do you think if once Trey Lance is healthy, they bench him and they go to Trey Lance?
You can see that. You can see that coming. But Jimmy G, I don't know who wants to go out and risk to try to get Jimmy G on a trade deadline. Who are you going to give up for him? I mean, the Carolina Panthers are probably going to be looking for a new quarterback the way, Donaldson stunk up in New York again. But then again, he went back to New York. He never played good in New York anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, you keep him away from New York, he plays better.
Exactly.
That's the thing, too. But Jimmy G, I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, I don't think teams are going to be risking the trade for him. So he's going to be one of those people getting all the big money and holding the clipboard, if Trey Lance gets healthy enough to come in and take his spot.
Right.
But then again, and you talk about the indoor, and I'm going to go to your first comment about this when you opened it up. You said talking about the indoor Indianapolis team. But Indianapolis is built to run the football in the rain with Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. They do have both clinch runs in that game to clinch the game away. Right. I mean, they were built for it. I mean, but then you had Jimmy Jeans who slipping. The 49ers were slipping slide, and you figured they had the advantage because they know the weather of that. They've been practicing some of them weathers up there, so they should know the slip and slide and the thing. But Jimmy Jean had 4 turnovers in the game,
right? Exactly.
49ers. So I mean, Carson Wentz always didn't look good in the contest, but he did have a total of 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, that weather was insane. I mean, Wentz looked great in it. The weather was nuts. I know I was watching the game, and you could just hear the rain pelting on the field microphones. It was almost drowning out Al Michaels, which, I like Al Michaels. It can drown out Chris Collinsworth for all I care. I don't need to hear Chris Collinsworth.
But I mean, if you go back to your football days, and Coach could probably back it up right here, is when you play in bad weather, what do you tell them? Ball security. Hound up ball security. Put 2 hands over the ball. Don't throw the interception. Don't force your turnovers. Play and go field position in rain games. That's what I was always taught. I was taught you scare the ball, you play your game, you take what it gives you. If you ain't got it there, just live it and kick the ball and play the field position game. Somebody's gonna make that mistake. We don't want you to be making that mistake. And the 49ers did that mistake for the Colts.
Right. Exactly. Coach, did you guys ever have to play in like a real bad weather game like that?
Oh God.
All right. Well, just share a quick story about that.
I actually played in one where you can't see. So usually it was funny because they asked the team who was playing when I was in high school. They said, "Hey, do you want to cancel the game?" He was like, "No." It's like this is what we do, which they run the ball. I was spread it out. Let's throw it across the field. He's like, "No, we're gonna stay right here so they can run the ball." It's you just hold on to the ball. It's hard to do pretty much everything because even it's snaps, punt. So you take advantage of those situations, and that's one thing. Like you look at the Colts, that's what they did. They took advantage of the fumbles, and they ran the ball. And then you got to realize too, one thing about you got the running back. He's from Wisconsin, so right. Even Wentz is North Dakota. So they're kind of used to this weird, cold, rainy, Like they're used to this weather, so it's nothing. It's not really too much different for them. And those are the two most important people that has the ball, especially for the Colts.
Right. Exactly. I know we used to play football on the field on my field in front of my house. We used to play in the snow, so that was always the best. Playing in the snow, just jumping on each other. No, I didn't get to play high school ball. My parents wouldn't sign the form, but I watch from the sidelines. It's
The
all
worst weather game I played in was rain. A rain. It stopped in the middle of the game. The field was so muddy that we were running backs. Our cleats had a pile of mud on top of our cleats, not on the bottom, on top of our cleats. we were doing, and we're looking at the referees. Y'all not going to stop this game? I mean, the football. They put the football down, and the center goes and puts his hand on the football, sinks into the ground, so it has to come out, and the mud gets all over like quarterback's hand. It turned into a slosh fest. I'm gonna tell you, the final score was 5-3.
Yeah, those games. It's a miserable game. You don't want to be out there because it's wet. And then it's muddy. You can't run. So everything is like slow motion.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Tony, if our producer Tony's there, I want to bring Tony into the fold. We're going to talk a little NBA preview here, make some NBA predictions.
He's not on right now.
Oh, Tony's not on right now? All right, that's cool.
He's not.
No worries. Yeah, so the NBA season kind of just slid in and started Tuesday night. Already some drama in Lakerland, the other night, Dwight Howard and AD getting into it. I think Dwight Howard pulled "I'm older than you" card, and AD's like, well, no, and they're already getting into it. Lakers won kind of by the skin of their teeth last night by John Morant missing a free throw at the end of the game. It was a great game. I stayed up to watch it. It was crazy. But in general, the NBA should be interesting this year. It seems like a lot of the teams that were good last year are going to be good this year. I don't really see any surprises. My prediction, I'm predicting a repeat from Milwaukee. I don't know. I don't see Brooklyn pulling out in the East. I don't think anyone else is going to contend in the East with Milwaukee. The West is kind of a toss-up. The AARP Lakers, I just think it's going to, LeBron puts these teams together and it takes too long for those guys to get together. They'll make the playoffs, but it's going to be interesting. I'm not hating Freddie. I know you're out there, Freddie. I'm not hating. But, I just kind of can see Milwaukee, repeating and stuff. So, Coach, give me a little NBA breakdown and a little prediction there.
I like Miami.
Ooh.
When Miami's healthy, and I scratched last year because both teams, Lakers and Miami, they didn't really do anything in the playoffs, lost first round, or didn't even make it. When Miami's healthy, they are the best team against the Bucks. And if you look at them, if you go the year before, they destroyed the Bucks.
Right.
And even now, they played them this year. They blew them out the water. Because one thing about it is Giannis it's like they have a shield. You can't get in here, Giannis. You have to shoot the ball. So I really, really think that Miami has what it takes to win the East. I don't like the Nets. I never liked the Nets. I tell people all the time, KD is a great shooter, but he's never won a championship. He doesn't make players better. James Harden doesn't make players better. Now they get theirs. They're going to score their points, but they don't make everybody else around them better. For the Bucks, it's now, hey, who's going to defend their best players? So now Giannis has to play defense. He don't have to wait till the fourth quarter because you lost that dog. He's down there in Miami. So I think that's a big advantage for them. Now we go to the West.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell people, and I say this, man, I never doubt LeBron. Hey, one thing about it is, man, we talking about 3 games in, and everybody's saying, oh, my gosh, they're fighting. You got to realize you got a bunch of grown men trying to figure this out during a season. So, me personally, I don't really watch the NBA until it gets February because that's when it gets real.
Right.
That's when it gets serious. That's when teams are okay. They start meshing. And one thing about it is when you got someone like LeBron who's been to 8 or 9 NBA finals, he's gonna have. He's not tripping about right now. Right now, we're just trying to figure it out. Coach is trying to figure out the lineups, what lineups works for who, what works for what. So they're gonna be fine. I think Phoenix is gonna be good. They're gonna be strong, but I don't think. I like it because you got Westbrook. Westbrook is the wild card. I think he's going to take over. He's going to get an understanding. He's going to understand his role, and what he's supposed to do. So I like my pick is the Lakers and Miami.
All right. Lakers in Miami, with Miami winning the whole thing. Cool. And that was the final in the bubble. And if Miami wasn't hurt, they definitely would have had a much better series against Lakers. Miami had a lot of injuries come the end of the season in the bubble. So it's definitely a good pick. I mean, I root for Miami down here. I root for the Knicks because I grew up north, and I like to see both those teams do well. But I'm just a little favorite on Milwaukee repeating again. But hey, down here we love to see Miami win, of course. All right, Ray, give me a little of your NBA breakdown. What do you got?
Well, first I gotta give a shout out to my Hornets right now. They're winning by 3 points over the Celtics at the end of the third quarter. They haven't updated the score, so I don't know if the fourth quarter started or not. But they're undefeated right now. They're 3-0. LaMelo Ball, man. LaMelo Ball is back up to his tricks that he left off last year. They picked up Oubre from Golden State. I think Golden State part made a mistake letting him go bye-bye anyway. Yeah. Because now they got, Klay Thompson's back. They could have had him in there for that third option. Pro really does, add that team a little bit more flair. They really could have 4 options. I don't know if Wiggins is still there in Golden State. So, but, if you look at the way I predict my NBA, thing at the beginning of the season, I look at the betting lines, who they predict to win this, thing. They have Brooklyn at plus 225. The Lakers in second with plus 450, and you have Milwaukee at plus 800. And then you have Golden State Warriors at plus 1,200, and then you have Phoenix Suns at plus 1,400. Yeah. So
Milwaukee was plus 800, really?
Yeah, they have plus 800. Golden State Warriors and Utah Jazz are at plus 1,200, and Phoenix Suns at plus 400, 1,400.
Oh, man, I wish I had some money on Milwaukee. That's a good price.
Yeah, plus 800, plus 1,200, plus 1,400.
Yeah, at plus 800, man, that'd be a nice little win. Okay.
Yeah, so to me, I had the East going between Brooklyn and Miami. I had Brooklyn taking the series in 7, by the skin of their teeth, because Miami is good and stuff like that. Right. But Brooklyn, to me, I think if they don't get injured, I think they're going to be the team to beat in that East. And Miami has that good young core.
That's a big if they don't get injured, as we all know.
So I had them coming out of the East, Brooklyn. But I also picked Phoenix Suns going back out of the West. Right. It's because the Phoenix Suns, I think, is Chris Paul, if he stays healthy. It's all about the health issue.
Right.
But I think Booker learned from last year from Chris Paul. He's doing pretty good this season. They're 1-2 right now. They beat the Lakers the first game of the season. Mm-hmm. We know it's still, or like Coach says, NBA basketball, you can't go out and say, hey, this team is going to be a clear shot winner. I mean, we can all change our minds at come February, March time frame when we go and actually pick, who we're going to have to take us in there. We can all change. But, right now, NBA is unpredictable in October, November, December. Right. You're not really fighting for anything. It comes after the All-Star break. That's when everything gets good. Exactly. Now, can the Lakers stay healthy after the All-Star break? Because Anthony Davis plays good the first half of the season. Then he starts breaking down the second half. That's going to be the key. Is Dwight Howard going to get along? Is Dwight Howard going to still be on the team, or are they going to still be bigger than fighting? You have a team turmoil like this, then it could go into the locker room. It could not gel your team as good. So, and you got to understand, LeBron is a warrior. I don't like LeBron personally on the court. I like him off the court, what he does for everybody off the court. That's fine, he's good and dandy. But I just don't like him on the court because he's always looking at the referees doing this little number every time somebody lays a little finger on him, little pinky finger.
I like that. That's a good one. I like that.
I mean, he lays a little pinky finger on it, and Freddie can come in here all he wants to and say that LeBron could play back when Michael Jordan played the bad boy of the Pistons. No, he cannot. Mahorn will clean this clock out. Lambert would clean this clock out. He would be crying. They forced Jordan had to go get a personal trainer after that series and get him stronger.
Yep.
So they could take all the bumps and bruises. And then you see what happened when they beat Detroit. Detroit gets mad and walks off and don't even shake nobody's hand.
Exactly.
So, but you got to understand LeBron is a warrior. He's one of the greatest players of the NBA in his era. I say era because I don't believe in everybody else going to jump in eras and say, hey, these guys better than everybody in the other era when they haven't played each other. And I take the same supplement with Michael Jordan, too, because Michael Jordan said it best. why are you going to say he's the greatest? But I never played against Wilt. I never played against Bill Russell. I never played against all the people in the past. So I don't know if I'm better than them. I have to play them on the court. So, I mean, to me, I have Phoenix Suns winning it this year. I think Chris Paul deserves it. I think Chris Paul wants it. Like I said, the big question is, can he stay healthy?
No, I would love to see Chris Paul get a ring, man. He's one of my favorite players playing right now. Good Samaritan. He's a good guy, you know. So gets that discount double check insurance. I'm just playing, but yeah, no, it's gonna be an interesting season. I don't know why. I don't understand why the NBA started so early, man. I think what they did starting at Christmas last year, they need to cut the season down, you know, because they cut the season down. I know it's all about money, but if they start the season around Christmas time and go till the middle end of June like they do for the normal NBA playoffs, I think you'll have a lot less of this players sitting out and all this stuff. I think players might be a little healthier. I definitely think the season's a little too long, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. All right.
Well, hold on. By you saying that too, starting this thing. Mm-hmm. How about the Lakers? The Lakers are old. They got an old team, and they got to play all these games. Are they gonna have enough in their tank to make it past April and get into the NBA Finals? Or are they gonna run out of gas?
Exactly.
And then if you look at Brooklyn, I seen some rumors going around on the internet that Brooklyn is trying to shop Kyrie Irving because of the vaccine situation.
Well, don't get me started on Kyrie Irving. He's a nutcase, if you ask me, on so many levels, with everything else. But that's not what we're talking about in today's show. All right, cool. Well, we got our NBA predictions. It is now time to move on to the World Series. Starts tomorrow night. Both we all know who coach is going for. Atlanta. We're gonna have to figure out a little wager before the end of the show. So let's think about this for a minute. We got Atlanta, who won in 6 against the 106 wins LA Dodgers. They clinch at home. Houston wins at 6 against the Boston Red Sox. They clinch at home. A lot of people doubted Houston because McCullers went down before the championship series. They had some pitching issues. They were down 2-1, and then they come back. Have some great pitching out of their starters, get a lot of innings out of their starters, and then they come back and win. Atlanta, they're up 2-1. All of a sudden, the Dodgers, win this miraculous Game 4 on this home run, and then they go in, win Game 5 and Game 6, and then they move forward. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys battle it out. I don't have a dog in the fight. My prediction is Houston in 7. Just because I just think the home field advantage will just have a little more advantage to them. So my prediction is Houston in 7. So, Coach, you're putting up the horns. I have a feeling I know who you're rooting for. So break it down for me why Houston's going to win.
Man, listen, that crowd's going to be crazy. All you're going to see is that orange, black, and white. I think a lot of it is because this group is – a lot of them been there before. So it's not like their first rodeo. This would be the first year they probably – didn't cheat, but they've been there. and then I'm rooting for Baker, man. I wanted him to get one when he was with the Giants. He came in pretty much was supposed to just clean everything up, and he was supposed to be gone 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. They liked him. He's still there. So that's the biggest thing. Is more so him. I think they're gonna play off of all the hate because it is because they got caught cheating, so it's a lot of hate. But I think they're going to live off that, and they've been there, and they understand they're not going to let the game get too big for them. So that's the biggest thing. I know, look, he over there thinking with his little Braves hat, but.
No, and it's interesting you talk about Dusty Baker. Yeah, I loved watching Dusty Baker as a player growing up, and I would love to see him get a ring. I think that's the only thing missing from his resume. I think if he gets a ring, he might get into the Hall of Fame as a manager. I think that's the only thing that might be keeping him back right now because he's got the wins, he's got playoff appearances. So, yeah, it would be cool for Dusty to win. All right, Rain, I'll break it down why Atlanta's going to win. First time in the series since 1999. Their championship was in '95 when they had all those strings of NL championships and pennants and the championship series. And we won one series in that whole string. So tell me why Atlanta's going to win this series.
Well, if you look at it this way too, for Atlanta and Houston. You got the 4th best team and you got a 12th ranked best team. Atlanta came in 12th and the breakdown of all the wins and stuff at the regular season. People are mad about these two teams playing each other anyway. because they don't think the Braves should have been a home field advantage against the Dodgers because the Dodgers didn't win their division. I told them they need to win their division to get that home field advantage and stuff like that. But for the Braves going to have to go into Houston. They're not good on the road. They're not a good road team. They only won one game in L.A., to get them back to Atlanta.
Right.
So, I mean, if you look at two things here that's coming, can the Braves at least take one game out of Houston, bring it back to L.A., bring it back to Atlanta? That's going to be the first key because the Braves has not lost at home yet, and since that Milwaukee game, they haven't lost home in the NLCS. Now, that my biggest concern here is if you look at Houston's built behind their offense. Basically, they have scored 67 runs in 10 playoff games. 45 of those runs has come with 2 outs. So they don't strike out as much. They are good hitters. They're good power hitters. Braves pitching has come around a little bit more. They still got Max Fried, who gave up that big, game in L.A. But then you had the bullpen come in to play the bullpen game. But they still have Will Smith. If the game gets close and Brave gets up, they still have Will Smith, who has not given up a run in any kind of situation for the Braves as closer. He's still ERA in the playoffs at 0.00.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, can Houston cool down that Rosario that has now combined with 14 playoff hits and is tied with names of some of the great players in baseball in the playoffs hit. The Braves need him getting on base. They just got back Solara from the divisional series that he was contained for 14 days because he didn't get the vaccine. He had COVID. They let him contain. He came back the last game and came in with a leadoff double in the 9th inning. So that gives him a good bat in the DH spots and when they play in Houston because of the DH. The thing that's going to worry about Houston is when they have to go back to Atlanta, play in the National Park. They got pitchers that's going to have to start hitting. No more DH. So they can take one of their best hitters out of the game unless they put him in the field somewhere. And then that might come up with some defense. But for the Braves, Braves are used for their pitcher to hitting, so the manager's going to be ready for their skills and strategy on that. But the Braves has to go into Houston, but you now added a big bat for the Braves in the DH spot too. So now you give them another big hitter in that lineup for the Braves. So the pitching staff is suspect for Houston. The pitching suspect for the Braves. This could be a high-scoring World Series. We could see an 11-10 game. You never know between these two teams. But like I said, if Atlanta cannot take one game out of Houston, then that series could be over because I don't see Atlanta going back 6 and 7 games back into Houston and closing it all out that way. The Braves at least have to take one game in Houston this first round between the second or first game, come back to L.A., come back to Atlanta and serve that 3 games and go 3-0 in Atlanta to pull out this World Series.
All right, cool. So what's your official prediction? Atlanta in how many games?
I'd say Atlanta in 5.
Atlanta in 5, right. Coach, you got Houston in
6.
Houston in 6.
We're gonna do it at ATL. We're gonna party in there. No, I'm sorry.
No, if you got it 6, you're going back to Houston.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
That's why I said 5 games because we're going to take at least one game out of Houston and come back and win the next 3 games in Atlanta.
Nah, man, we're gonna party in Houston, man.
I'm telling you, if it goes past my 5 games, like I said, if it goes past my 5 games, the Braves could be in trouble.
Oh, they're in trouble.
All right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, all right. So now we got to figure out a little wager with you guys. There's something friendly, something here. What if Ray, so if Houston wins, you got to put an Astros insignia on your green screen for the next show. I mean, if they don't win, I mean, obviously next week they might not win yet, but how about you got to do that? And Coach, if Atlanta wins, you got to put something in Atlanta on your wall for the show after they win.
That's fine. I'll put ATL. I'll put something up for it.
How does that sound? Ray, sound good?
Oh no, have them do the tomahawk chop.
I do it. You want that? I do it. Hey, I do before. and do
you know, like I say, you know, he hopes. You know, I like Dusty Baker too. Goes back to his playing days. I mean, either way, I'll be happy. You know, I'll be kind of sad when the Braves don't do. I'll be kind of happy with the Houston Astros dudes because of Dusty Baker. But also, I hope Freeman for the Braves. He's been with the organization for a while. I think he deserves one. I think it's time for him to get one. And then the two keys is Correll and Freeman. Is this their last hooray with their teams?
Yeah, Correa's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. That's true, and so is Freeman. Yeah, I think Freeman will stay. I think Correa might sign somewhere else if someone shows him the money, but I think Freeman will stay in Atlanta.
So you got an interesting storyline. So you got Freeman looking for his first World Series. Dusty Baker looking for his. You got Correll leaving. You got Freeman leaving. Is this who's going to have a hooray when they leave? And that's going to be the question. And then you got Brian Snickers, the Braves manager, who's been with the organization since God knows since they won the first World Series when they won their World Series in 1995. He's been with the organization for a long time.
That's another good storyline. Yeah, I forgot about that. Also, as far as travel, the travel isn't that far from Atlanta to Houston. So it's not like, I mean, yes, it's a time zone, but it's not. It's what 2, maybe 3 hours by plane. So it's not like going cross country.
I think it's about an hour and 45 minutes.
All right, even better. So yeah, there's not that time. There's not that travel thing. Well, cool. All right, so we'll see where we're at next Monday. The series might be over. It might be still going on. You never know.
Who knows?
A lot of good games this week. Big game Thursday night. Green Bay at Arizona. That's going to be a big one. We might, if Arizona wins next week, we might have to have Mr. Jay Ness come. We'll do a little show, little appearance here on Bring It. Give him some of the karma. You never know. We were supposed to do it this week, but next week we're going to do our collaboration with the Hot Sauce Sports Network. They were supposed to do it tonight, but we had some technical issues. They're from Canada, so we're going to be teaming up with them next week. So we're going to get a little Canadian sports take next week. So, yeah, great show, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for bringing it as always. Great predictions, great everything. And, Real Talk is on in about a half hour, I think, right? Yeah, and we're out. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we're making up plays. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports all plays.